Hey beautiful souls, are you ready for a love story that will change how you see yourself? Because what I'm about to share will prove that sometimes the person who calls you worthless is the one who's truly broken. Picture this. It's 1823. A trembling girl stands before a man they call the Beast Count, her wedding night. She's been told her entire life that no one could ever want her, but what happens next will restore your faith in love. Meet Alara, 20 years old, convinced she's too plain, too awkward, too everything wrong to ever be loved. Her own mother, the woman who should protect her, whispers poison in her ear every single day. No one will want you except him, and he's desperate enough. Can you imagine your own mother destroying your self-worth before you even meet the man you're supposed to marry? If you've ever felt invisible in your own family, this story will heal something deep inside you. But here's where it gets incredible. Count Aldrich approaches her on their wedding night. She's shaking, waiting for cruelty, expecting to be used and discarded like her mother always said she would be. Her heart is fracturing because she believes this is all she deserves. And then he stops. He sees her terror. This man, who's been alone for 3 years, who agreed to this marriage out of desperation, he sees her fear, and something inside him shifts. Instead of claiming his rights, he steps back. Instead of taking what's his, he offers her a chair. "You're safe," he whispers. "I won't hurt you." She can't believe it. Neither can we. This isn't the monster everyone described. This isn't the beast who supposedly killed his first wife. This is a broken man looking at a broken woman and choosing kindness over conquest. But why? Why did the Beast Count really agree to marry her? And what tragedy made him so desperate for any bride? The answers will surprise you. She waited for cruelty. Instead, he offered her gentleness. The lonely Count, who hadn't smiled in 3 years, felt something shift when he saw himself reflected in her eye. You won't believe what made him stop, but the girl who thought she deserved nothing is about to discover she deserves everything. Have you ever been surprised by unexpected kindness when you needed it most? Share your story below, because this community understands that healing comes through connection. But first, let me tell you about the girl who made herself invisible, and the man who learned to see in the dark. If you've ever felt unlovable, if you've ever believed the lies people told you about your worth, hit that like button right now, because Alara's transformation is going to inspire your own. Stay with me, because what happens next proves that sometimes the person brave enough to see your pain is the one meant to heal it. And the shocking truth about why her mother really sent her away. You're not ready for that reveal. Okay, so let me tell you about the girl who learned to disappear. Because understanding Alara's pain will make her transformation even more beautiful. Every morning, she wakes up and practices making herself smaller. Literally, she slouches her shoulders, ducks her head, speaks in whispers. Because in her mother's house, being noticed means being heard. The woman who gave birth to her, Lady Catherine, is a masterpiece of cruelty. And the saddest part, Alara helps her do it. "I'm the plain daughter," Alara whispers to herself each morning. "I'm disappointed. I'm the one who looks too much like him. The father who abandoned them both. The man whose eyes Alara inherited, along with his abandonment." But here's what breaks my heart about her coping mechanism. She agrees with every insult before others can voice them. She calls herself ugly before anyone else gets the chance. She's weaponized self-destruction as protection. Can you imagine carrying that weight? Comment below if you've ever felt like you had to be your own worst critic just to survive. The incident that changed everything. A dinner party. Alara serves quietly, invisibly, until a guest mentions marriage prospects for local girls. Her mother's laugh cuts through the room like glass. Not Alara. She's unmarriageable. Too plain, too quiet, her father's daughter. The words she whispers to herself each night will break your heart. "I am not enough. I will never be enough. I don't deserve to be seen." But wait, there's something her mother doesn't know. Every night, when the house sleeps, Alara creeps to the library. She lights a single candle and disappears into romance novels. Stories where plain girls are cherished, where love sees past appearances, where anyone, chooses the invisible girl. She memorizes every word, every kiss, every declaration of love. Because in those pages, she lets herself dream. "Maybe someday," she whispers to the candlelight, "someone will see me. Really see me. Not just look at me, but see who I am inside." The books she reads in secret reveal what she truly craves. Not just love, but recognition. Not just acceptance, but celebration. Not just being chosen, but being treasured. And then, everything changes. A letter arrives. The seal is unfamiliar. Her mother reads it, and for the first time in years, smiles. Not warmth, triumph. You're getting married, Alara, to Count Aldrich Blackthorn, the Beast Count. The man they say killed his wife, the desperate widower who needs a dowry more than a bride. But here's the beautiful irony. The girl who believes she's too broken to be loved is about to meet the man who thinks he's too dangerous to love again. She touched the romance novel, held it to her chest, and let herself dream, just for a moment. What if this time, someone stayed? The servant who helps her pack whispers a warning. Be careful, miss. They say he keeps his first wife's ghost in every room. They say he talks to shadows. But Alara isn't listening to what they say anymore. Because somewhere deep inside, past all the wounds, a tiny spark of hope flickers. Maybe, just maybe, being sent away isn't punishment. Maybe it's a rescue. Every mirror became her enemy. Every compliment felt like a lie. But what if she's been looking in the wrong mirrors? What if the person meant to see her clearly is waiting in a castle full of shadows? Hit like if you've ever felt invisible in your own family. Because what happens when someone finally sees her truth will give you chills. The girl who learned to hide is about to discover what it means to be found, and the strength she doesn't know she has. It's going to surprise everyone, including herself. Can you imagine believing you're too ugly to be loved? Tell me in the comments if this resonates, because this community knows that our worst critics are often the ones who should love us most. She's about to leave everything she knows, for a man she's never met, in a place that might be her prison or her paradise. But the real question isn't whether he'll accept her, it's whether she'll finally accept herself. And that journey starts with a single step into the unknown. Now let me tell you about the man they call a monster, because his story will shatter every assumption you have about grief and guilt. Count Aldrich Blackthorn, 32 years old, hasn't smiled in 3 years, lives alone in a castle that's slowly crumbling, just like his heart. But here's what they don't tell you about the Beast Count. His isolation isn't cruelty, it's pain. Every single night, he walks to her portrait. Isabella, his first wife. The woman he believes he killed through neglect. And he whispers the same words. I'm sorry, I should have seen. I should have known. I should have saved you. The real reason he's called the Beast Count isn't what anyone thinks. It's not violence. It's not cruelty. It's guilt so consuming. It devoured the man he used to be. What he does every midnight will change how you see him completely. He talks to her painting. Not just apologies, full conversations. About his day. About the servants. About how empty everything feels without her laughter. About how he's failing everyone who depends on him. But here's the heartbreaking truth. Isabella didn't die because he was cruel. She died because he was absent. Lost in business. On duty. In everything except the woman who needed him most. I was a husband in name only, he tells her portrait. I gave you a title, but never myself. Can you imagine that guilt? Knowing that your neglect, not your hatred, destroyed someone you loved. If you've ever blamed yourself for something you can't change, his story will resonate. The estate is dying too. Creditors circle like vultures. The servants haven't been paid in months. The roof leaks. The gardens are overgrown. Everything beautiful is withering away, just like him. But watch this. Here's why I love this broken man. A stable boy falls from a horse, breaks his arm, can't work, can't earn, can't feed his family. And Aldrich, the man who supposedly has no heart, pays for the boy's care from his last remaining funds. The creditor who comes to collect debts. He watches this act of kindness, and his smile turns predatory. You're too soft, Count. That's your weakness. You care too much about people who don't matter. But Aldrich's jaw sets. They matter to me. That's when the creditor makes his offer. A marriage contract. A substantial dowry. Enough to save the estate. And everyone who depends on it. Her name is Alara. She's plain, quiet, grateful. She won't expect romance. She won't demand attention. Perfect for a man who has nothing left to give. And Aldrich, the man who swore never to risk another woman's happiness, agrees. Not for himself, for them. The servants, the tenants, the people who trusted him to protect their livelihoods. He touched Isabella's portrait, whispered an apology, like every night for 3 years. I failed you, but I won't fail them. The creditor smiled, knowing the Count would do anything to protect his people. But there's something in that smile, something calculating, something that suggests this marriage isn't just business. It's revenge. But revenge for what? What connects Alara's family to Aldrich's tragedy? The truth will surprise you. Here's what breaks my heart about his character. He believes love is dangerous, that caring kills, that the best thing he can do for any woman is stay away. But loneliness is killing him slower than guilt ever could. The servant who's been stealing food, Aldrich knows, and instead of punishment, he quietly increases the household allowance, because sometimes survival requires bending rules, and he understands desperation.
You think you know why he's desperate for this marriage?
The truth runs deeper than money, deeper than saving the estate, deeper than protecting his people. He needs to prove he can keep someone safe, that he can be worthy of trust, that he can love without destroying. But what he doesn't realize is that the broken girl coming to marry him needs the exact same proof. Two people convinced they're too damaged to deserve happiness, about to discover that sometimes healing happens in pairs. What drives someone to self-isolation when they're naturally protective and kind? Share your thoughts below, because understanding his walls will make watching them crumble even more beautiful. The man who punishes himself for loving poorly is about to learn how to love well, and the teacher who'll show him how. She's already on her way. He expects emptiness, duty, polite distance. Instead, he's about to meet his match in brokenness and his guide to wholeness.
Okay, beautiful souls, are you ready for the moment that changes everything? Because when these two wounded hearts meet, magic happens.
Picture this. The drawing room of Blackthorn Castle. Shadows everywhere. Dust motes dancing in autumn light. And two people about to discover they're not as alone as they thought. Alara enters first. Small steps. Eyes down. Wearing her plainest dress because, why pretend? She's already convinced herself this is a business transaction. Nothing more. But then, he walks in. And everything you think you know about the Beast Count shatters. He's not a monster. He's magnificent. Tall, strong. But his eyes, oh, his eyes carry such sadness. The same sadness she sees in her own mirror every morning. She curtsies, stumbles slightly, and he catches her. Their eyes meet, and for the first time in both their lives, neither looks away. At this moment, two broken souls recognize each other, and neither realizes they just met their salvation and destruction all at once. Lady Alara, he says softly, and the way he says her name, like it matters, like she matters, makes her breath catch. She's waiting for inspection, for disappointment, for the moment he realizes what a poor bargain he's made. Instead, he's studying her face like he's memorizing something precious. You're not what I expected, he murmurs. Her heart drops. Here it comes. The rejection, the confirmation that she's not enough. I expected someone harder, someone who'd been told she was beautiful so often she believed it. But you look like you've never been told you matter at all. And that's when something cracks open in both of them. Because he sees it. The invisible girl is finally being seen. And she sees it too. The lonely man who's been talking to portraits finally has someone real to talk to. I don't, she whispers. Matter. I mean, that's why I'm here. His face transforms. No pity. Understanding. I matter so little that marriage to a stranger was my best option. They laugh, both of them, soft and broken and real. And in that laughter, something begins. We're quite a pair, she says, and for the first time in years, forgets to make herself smaller. Indeed we are. And for the first time in 3 years, he almost smiles. But watch this beautiful moment. He offers her tea. She reaches for the cup. Their fingers brush. An electricity shoots through both of them. Not just attraction, recognition, like coming home to a place they've never been. She jerks her hand back. He steps away, both terrified of hope. I should warn you, he says carefully. I'm not good at this. At marriage. At making women happy. I should warn you, she replies. I'm not good at being happy. Their eyes met, and for the first time, neither looked away. Neither apologized for their brokenness. Neither tried to be smaller or safer. Perhaps, he says slowly, we could learn together. She waited for disgust. Instead, she found wonder. He expected emptiness, but saw himself reflected back in eyes that understood pain. When have you felt that instant soul recognition? That moment when someone sees your wounds and doesn't flinch? Share that moment below. Because this community knows that healing begins with being witnessed. But just as they're beginning to breathe, to hope, footsteps echo in the hallway. Her mother's voice carries through the door, sharp, demanding. Alara, come here at once. And the spell breaks. Alara shrinks back into herself, shoulders hunching, eyes dropping. The invisible girl returns like armor. But Aldrich, he notices. He sees her transformation, and something protective flares in his chest. She can wait, he says quietly. You don't have to go. She looks at him in shock. No one has ever put her needs first. But she's my mother, and you're my wife. The words surprise them both, but he doesn't take them back. Well, you will be, and that means you matter to me. In the space of 20 minutes, she's gone from invisible to seen, from worthless to valued, from alone to protected. Neither realizes that her mother's arrival isn't coincidence, that there are forces at work beyond simple arranged marriage, that their growing connection threatens someone's carefully laid plans. The moment he almost mentions Isabella, catches himself, and chooses to stay present with Alara instead. That's when you know this man is healing too. Have you ever felt instantly understood by someone you just met? Tell me about it in the comments, because what happens next will show you why some connections transcend explanation. Their first meeting should have been awkward, formal, disappointing. Instead, it was magic disguised as accident, love disguised as convenience, healing disguised as marriage contract. He looks at her, really looks, and sees beauty everyone else missed. She looks at him, past the rumors and fear, and sees kindness everyone else overlooked. But the biggest revelation, neither of them is broken beyond repair. They're just unfinished, waiting for someone who speaks their language of scars and second chances. The collision wasn't their bodies in that stumble. It was their souls recognizing home. And what they're about to build together will inspire you to believe in your own capacity for transformation. But first, they have to survive the forces determined to tear them apart. Hold on to your hearts, beautiful souls, because just when these two find each other, everything threatens to fall apart. 3 days into their engagement, 3 days of stolen conversations, 3 days of learning that maybe, just maybe, they deserve happiness. And then, chaos arrives in a carriage. Lady Catherine, Alara's mother. Unannounced, uninvited, and absolutely furious. She storms into Blackthorn Castle like a hurricane of silk and venom. And Lara, what have you been telling him? What lies have you been spreading? But here's what's different this time. Alara doesn't immediately shrink. She glances at Aldrich, who's watching her with steady, supportive eyes, and something inside her straightens. I haven't told any lies, Mother. Don't you dare take that tone with me. You're here for one purpose, to secure this marriage and save our family from ruin, not to play at being worthy of affection. The words cut, but this time, they don't slice as deep, because someone else's voice is louder in her head now. Aldrich's voice, calling her beautiful, telling her she matters. Just when she learns to trust, everything threatens to shatter. But watch how she responds. It'll give you chill. Maybe I am worthy, Alara says quietly. Maybe I always was. Lady Catherine's face turns purple. You ungrateful little... That's enough. Aldrich's voice cuts through the tirade like steel. You will not speak to my betrothed that way. And something shifts in the room. Power, respect, protection. But Lady Catherine isn't finished. Oh no. She's just getting started. You want to know what your precious bride is worth? She's payment for a debt. Her father, the man who abandoned us, he owes you everything. This marriage? It's not love. It's collection. The words hang in the air like poison. But before either of them can process this bombshell, another visitor arrives. Cordelia Blackthorn, Aldrich's first wife's sister, beautiful, bitter, and carrying accusations that could destroy everything. Hello, Aldrich. Still collecting wives to replace the one you murdered? His worst nightmare returns. But watch how Alara responds, because her reaction will show you who she really is inside. Instead of running, instead of believing the worst, Alara steps closer to him. Murdered? She asks calmly. That's a serious accusation. Do you have proof? Cordelia laughs, sharp and cruel. Proof? He killed Isabella through neglect, left her alone so much she died of heartbreak. But that's not the worst part. She pauses for effect, looking between them with malicious glee. The worst part, Isabella was trying to leave him. For another man. She died running to her lover, and Aldrich let everyone believe it was illness. The revelation hits like a physical blow. Aldrich staggers. 3 years of guilt, but not the whole truth. And Alara, precious, invisible Alara, does something that surprises everyone. She takes his hand. Is it true? She asks softly. He can barely speak. Yes. She was leaving. I failed her so completely she'd rather die trying to escape than stay with me. Her mother's words cut deep. But this time, Alara didn't bleed. She absorbed the truth, processed the pain, and chose love anyway. Then you understand, she says firmly, what it feels like to be abandoned. what it feels like to not be enough, what it feels like to be left behind. And in that moment, their shared wounds become their shared strength. But Cordelia isn't finished. There's more, dear sister-in-law. The man Isabella was running to, the man she loved enough to die for. Her smile turns vicious. Ilara's father. The room explodes into chaos. Lady Catherine screams. Aldrich goes white. Ilara stands frozen as her entire world reshapes itself. Everything they thought they knew was orchestrated, manipulated, designed for maximum destruction. But here's what breaks my heart and fills it simultaneously. Instead of turning on each other, instead of letting the revelation tear them apart, they turned toward each other. He prepared for condemnation. Instead, she took his hand. She expected abandonment. Instead, he stepped closer. So our families destroyed each other, Ilara says slowly. Our parents' choices created this mess. But she looks up at him, eyes clear, voice steady. Their mistakes don't define our future, do they? Would you choose love or safety when everything falls apart? Comment your choice below, because what these two choose next will restore your faith in conscious love. The truth about both their pasts was about to collide. But sometimes collision creates new stars instead of destroying old ones. Because here's what they realize in that moment of chaos. Their love didn't grow because of the manipulation. It grew despite it. In the cracks, in the spaces between lies, in the honest moments when they forgot to protect themselves. I choose you, Aldrich says firmly. Not because of debts or arrangements or other people's schemes. I choose you. I choose you too, Ilara whispers. Not because I have to, because I want to. And that is when they stop being victims of other people's stories and start writing their own. Lady Catherine sputters. Cordelia rages. But two broken people are becoming whole in each other's courage. What would you sacrifice for someone who sees your worth? Tell me below, because these two are about to sacrifice everything for the chance to build something real. Every obstacle that should tear them apart somehow brings them closer. But the biggest test is coming, because choosing each other is just the beginning. Now they have to fight for each other. And that fight, it's going to require strength neither of them knew they possessed. Okay, beautiful souls, prepare your hearts. Because what I'm about to tell you will shatter everything you thought you knew about their love story. The letter arrives at dawn, delivered by a man with cold eyes and colder smile, Lord Edmund Harrington, the creditor who's been circling Aldrich's estate like a vulture. But he's not just any creditor. He's Ilara's father. Hello, daughter, he says casually, as if he hadn't abandoned her 20 years ago. Surprised to see me? Ilara can't breathe. The man she's wondered about her entire life. The man whose eyes she inherited. The man who left them broken and bitter is here. But why now? Why like this? You want to know the truth about your fairy tale romance? He continues, settling into Aldrich's drawing room like he owns it. Let me tell you a story about revenge served cold. And then, everything unravels. 23 years ago, I loved a woman, Isabella Fairfax. She was engaged to someone else, but she loved me. We planned to run away together, to start fresh, to be happy. Aldrich's face goes ashen. Isabella. His Isabella. But her family wouldn't let her go. They forced the marriage, locked her away until the wedding, made her marry a man who could never love her the way I did. You, Edmund's eyes fix on Aldrich, with pure hatred. You stole her from me, trapped her in a loveless marriage, killed her spirit year by year until she had nothing left. The truth emerges like acid, destroying everything it touches. She tried to come to me 3 years ago, packed her things, left you a letter, was riding to meet me when her horse threw her. She died, trying to get back to the man who actually loved her. Everything you thought you knew was a lie. But what they choose next will restore your faith in conscious love. But there's more. Oh, there's so much more. Catherine, Ilara's mother. She was my consolation prize. Married her on the rebound. Had a child who looked just like the woman I'd lost. And every day, every single day, I hated that child for not being Isabella. Ilara staggers. Her entire childhood, the rejection, the cruelty, it wasn't about her worthiness. It was about resembling a dead woman her father couldn't forget. So I left. Let Catherine raise the constant reminder of my failure. Let her poison the girl against herself. And I waited. His smile turns predatory. Waited for the perfect revenge. Destroying you by giving you exactly what you took from me. A loveless marriage. A woman who could never truly be yours. A union built on lies and desperation. The letter in his hand, The marriage contract. It's all there, planned, orchestrated, designed to destroy Aldrich the same way Isabella was destroyed. Edmund continues his devastating revelation. I've been systematically ruining your finances for 3 years. Every bad investment, every failed venture, every creditor circling your estate. All me. I made you desperate enough to marry anyone, and then provided the perfect bride. Plain enough to be grateful, broken enough to be manageable. My daughter, payment for the daughter I should have had. But what they choose next will restore your faith and love that sees everything clearly. Lara's complete worldview shatters, but instead of breaking, she chooses truth over comfort. So my entire life, she says slowly, has been your revenge fantasy. Every moment of it, Edmund confirms cruelly. Every cruel word your mother spoke. Every day you felt worthless. Every night you cried yourself to sleep. All of it because Aldrich Blackthorne stole my happiness. The room falls silent, except for the sound of hearts breaking. But then, something extraordinary happened. Aldrich speaks, voice steady, despite the devastation. You're wrong about one thing. Edmund raises an eyebrow. What's that? You said Isabella could never truly be mine, but you're wrong. She was mine in the ways that matter, in trust, in companionship, in the quiet moments when she let me see her real self. He looks at Alara, eyes clear, voice growing stronger. And you're wrong about Alara. She's not payment for a debt. She's not a consolation prize. She's not broken or manageable or grateful for scraps. Alara's heart stops. She's extraordinary. She's brave. She's kind. Despite every reason to be bitter. She's beautiful in ways you'll never understand because you only see what you've lost, never what's right in front of you. Has betrayal ever led you to something real? Share your story, because what happens next will prove that some love is stronger than the lies that try to destroy it. Edmund laughs. Pretty words. But your marriage is still built on my manipulation. Your love, if you can call it that, exists because I allowed it to. And that's when Alara finds her voice. No, she says firmly. It doesn't. Everyone turns to look at her. Our love exists despite your manipulation. It grew in the spaces between your lies, in moments when we forgot to be who you wanted us to be, in conversations when we chose honesty over safety. She looks at Aldrich. I didn't fall in love with you because I was grateful for scraps. I fell in love with you because you saw me, really saw me, when I didn't even see myself. The letter revealed everything, and nothing would ever be the same. She looked at him, knowing the truth, and made her choice. So thank you, she continues, addressing her father with steel in her voice. Thank you for bringing us together. Thank you for showing us that real love, conscious love, love that chooses daily, is stronger than the hate that created it. He could let guilt win again, or fight for something real. And in that moment, Aldrich chooses to fight. I release, Isabella, he says quietly. I release the guilt. I release the story that I destroyed her. She made her choice. You made yours. Catherine made hers. And now, he takes Alara's hand. We make ours. If you discovered your love was built on manipulation, would you fight for what's real underneath? Comment below, because true love isn't blind. It sees everything and chooses anyway. The words that change everything are about to be spoken. Words of choice. Words of defiance. Words of love that refuses to be a victim of other people's pain. We're keeping each other, Alara says firmly. Not because we have to, because we want to. Because what we've built together is ours, not yours, not theirs, ours. And that is the moment they stop being pawns in other people's games and become the authors of their own story. But Edmund isn't finished. He has one more card to play, one final destruction plan. And it's going to require every ounce of strength they've found in each other to survive what comes next. Here we go, beautiful souls. This is where everything transforms, where two people who've been told they're broken discover they're exactly what each other needs to become whole. Edmund's final card. Legal documents. Forged signatures. Fraudulent contracts that could strip Aldrich of everything and leave Alara legally bound to a man who sees her as property. You think love conquers all? He sneers. Try loving each other from debtor's prison. But here's where the magic happens, where Alara becomes who she was always meant to be. She stands, straight, tall, looking her father in the eye for the first time in her life. I have something to say. Her voice carries through the room like music, clear, strong, unafraid. My entire life, I believed I was worthless because you abandoned me. I believed I was unlovable because my mother told me so. I believed I deserved scraps because that's all anyone offered me. Watch her become who she was always meant to be. Because this transformation will give you chills. But you know what I've learned? The people who call us worthless are the ones too broken to see worth. The people who abandon us are the ones too afraid to stay and fight. The people who offer us scraps don't recognize a feast when it's right in front of them. Edmund's confidence wavers. This isn't the broken girl he expected. You orchestrated this marriage to destroy us both, but you gave us something you never intended. You gave us each other, and together, we're stronger than your hatred. She walks to Aldrich's desk, opens the drawer, and pulls out the real marriage contract. The one Edmund thought he controlled. You see, while you were busy playing puppet master, we were busy building something real. Aldrich showed me the original documents weeks ago. We know about the forgeries. We know about the illegal financial manipulation. We know everything. His transformation will give you hope for your own. Because watch what choosing love over guilt does to a person. Aldrich steps forward. No longer the guilt-ridden man who's been punishing himself for 3 years. This is the man Elara sees when she looks at him. Strong, protective, worthy. Isabella's death wasn't my fault, he says clearly. Her choices weren't my responsibility. Her happiness wasn't my burden to carry. I loved her the best I knew how, and that has to be enough. He looks at Edmund. Your grief doesn't justify destroying innocent people. Your loss doesn't give you the right to create more loss. And most importantly, he takes Elara's hand. Your manipulation doesn't diminish what we've chosen to build. The servant who's been watching from the doorway. He steps forward. Thomas. Stable master. The one who's been quietly documenting every illegal visit, every forged signature, every fraudulent transaction. The magistrate is waiting outside, my lord, along with the financial investigators. Edmund's face goes white. You planned this? Elara smiles. Radiant. Confident. Free. We learned from the best manipulator how to manipulate back. But here's the beautiful part. They're not destroying him out of revenge. They're stopping him out of justice. You'll face consequences for your actions, Aldrich says firmly. But we won't let hatred consume us the way it consumed you. We won't let your choices define our future. She spoke her truth, and the world didn't end. It began. He chose joy over guilt, and felt freedom, at last. Lady Catherine, who's been silent through the entire confrontation, finally speaks. Elara, mother. Elara's voice is gentle but firm. You chose bitterness over healing, cruelty over kindness. But your choices are yours to live with. I'm done carrying them. The mother who destroyed her daughter's self-worth, watching that daughter become magnificent despite her efforts. I forgive you, Elara continues. Not because you deserve it, because I deserve to be free of your poison. I deserve to love and be loved without your voice in my head, telling me I'm not enough. Together they stood, not perfect, but whole. Two people who chose healing over hurting, growth over stagnation, love over fear. If you believe people can change, if you believe love can heal, if you believe in the power of choosing your own story, hit like now. But the most beautiful moment, when Aldrich turns to Isabella's portrait, the one he's been apologizing to for 3 years, and says goodbye. Thank you for the lessons. Thank you for showing me what I didn't want to repeat. Thank you for the guilt that taught me the value of attention. Rest now. I'm ready to live again. And Elara, precious Elara, who spent 20 years believing she wasn't worthy of being chosen, watches the man she loves choose her every single day. I choose you, she whispers. Not because you saved me, because you saw me. Not because you fixed me, because you loved me, exactly as I was, while believing I could become even more. I choose you, he replies. Not to replace what I lost, but to build something entirely new. Something that's ours, something that's real, something that's conscious and daily and beautiful. The courage they find in each other will inspire you to find your own. Because sometimes healing doesn't happen alone. Sometimes transformation requires a witness. Sometimes becoming who we're meant to be happens in the safety of being fully seen. Edmund is led away. Lady Catherine leaves in shame. Cordelia retreats in defeat. But Elara and Aldrich, they remain, hand in hand, heart to heart, ready to write a love story that belongs completely to them. Their happy beginning starts now. Because true love stories don't end with happily ever after. They begin with let's choose each other every single day. And what they build next will inspire everyone who witnesses it. 1 year later, beautiful souls, and the transformation will take your breath away. Picture this. Blackthorn Castle. No longer crumbling. No longer shadowed. Alive with laughter. Bustling with purpose. Radiant with joy. And Elara, she's not the same woman who entered that drawing room trembling and invisible. She moves through her home. Yes, her home, with confidence that comes from being truly seen. She wears colors now, rich blues that match her eyes, warm golds that complement her smile. 'Cause when someone sees your beauty, you start to see it too. But here's what I love most about her transformation. She's not just confident, she's compassionate, using her pain to heal others. The Alara Foundation, she tells the group of young women gathered in her parlor. For girls who've been told they're unmarriageable, unmatchable, unworthy. These women, girls really, from families that see them as burdens, they look at Lady Alara like she's performed magic. How, one whispers. How did you go from nothing to this? Alara's smile is radiant. I learned the truth. We're not nothing. We've never been nothing. We just needed someone who spoke our language, the language of seeing worth where others see worthlessness. And Aldrich, he's standing in the doorway, watching his wife, his extraordinary wife, create ripples of healing that extend far beyond their love story. Their happy ending is just the beginning. But wait until you see what they do next. He runs the estate with joy now. Not duty, not guilt. Joy, because work done alongside someone you love isn't work. It's partnership. The servants are paid. The gardens bloom. The house rings with celebration. But the most beautiful change, the portrait of Isabella has moved, not hidden, not destroyed, placed in a position of honor, alongside paintings of Alara, past and present, grief and joy. All part of the story, but no longer controlling it. Your faith in transformation has been rewarded, because look what happens when two people choose healing over hiding. The letter that arrives on their anniversary, from Lady Catherine, short, bitter, but containing 3 words Alara never expected to read. I was wrong. Not an apology exactly, but acknowledgement. Recognition that her daughter, her supposedly worthless daughter, created something beautiful, despite every obstacle. Their love story proves it's never too late to become who you're meant to be. It's never too late to choose love over fear. It's never too late to write a better ending. And the surprise? The child they're expecting. The baby who will grow up knowing, from day one, that they are chosen, celebrated, treasured. Sometimes, love doesn't just find us, it creates us. They learned the greatest truth. We're all worthy of being seen. Smash that like button if character growth gives you hope. Subscribe for love stories where people become their best selves. Comment which transformation touched you most. Alara's journey from invisible to radiant, or Aldrich's path from guilt to joy. Share this with someone who needs to believe in their worth, because their love story is proof that the right person won't just accept your brokenness. They'll help you discover you were never broken at all. You were just unfinished, waiting for someone who could see the masterpiece you were always meant to become. And if these 2 damaged souls could find healing in each other, imagine what's possible for you. Picture this. A young woman stands trembling in the palace corridors. Tears stream down her face. The candles flicker against stone walls. And then, the 70-year-old king leans close. He whispers something in her ear. Something that shatters everything she thought she knew about herself. But wait, how did we get here? If you've ever felt invisible, if you've ever been trapped by choices that weren't yours, this story will heal something deep in your soul. Hit that like button right now, because what you're about to witness is a transformation so beautiful, it'll give you chills. So here's what happened. She never wanted this marriage. He never wanted to love again. But sometimes, the heart writes its own rules. Let me take you back to where it all began. Picture 15th century royal courts, candlelit chambers, arranged marriages as political tools. Women are valued as alliances, not human beings. In this world, a young woman's voice meant nothing. Her dreams, even less. But this woman, she's different. She carries a secret so dangerous. She burns evidence of it every single night. And this king, this powerful man, everyone fears. He's drowning in loneliness, so deep, it's killing him slowly. Neither knows. They're about to save each other. What he confesses to her in that moment will change how you see love forever. The secret he's carried for decades. The promise that's been slowly destroying him. And the choice that requires more courage than ruling a kingdom. Stay with me until the end, because his final revelation will leave you sobbing. The good kind of sobbing. The kind that reminds you, love really can conquer everything. You won't believe how this ends. Trust me. She's about to discover strength she never knew existed. is about to learn that protecting your heart can become its own prison. And together, they're about to prove that real love doesn't just find us. It transforms us. Are you ready? Because this journey, it's going to wreck you in the most beautiful way. The woman crying in those corridors, she's not who you think she is. The king whispered that secret. He's breaking a vow he's kept for 30 years. And what happens next will show you that courage isn't the absence of fear. Courage is choosing love when everything inside you screams to run. Let's go back to the beginning of their impossible story. Comment below if you believe people can transform. Because what you're about to see is two souls becoming everything they were meant to be, even when the world told them it was impossible. And guys, this community always understands that the best love stories aren't about finding someone perfect. They're about two broken people learning to be whole together. The tears she's crying right now, they're not just from heartbreak. They're from finally being seen. The words he's whispering, they're not just confessions. They're the key to both their prison. But first, let me show you her world. The world that taught her she didn't matter. Meet Isabella, though that's not her real name. She's the youngest daughter of a lesser noble house. The overlooked one. The one who smiles at royal banquets, while feeling completely invisible. Her older sisters shine like jewels. They command attention. They know their worth. Isabella? She sketches maps in hidden corners, dreams of places beyond castle walls, and every night, she performs the same heartbreaking ritual. She burns a letter. Not just any letter, a letter with her true name, her real identity, the secret that could destroy everything. Can you imagine living your entire life as someone you're not, smiling when your heart is breaking, pretending you belong, when you know you're an imposter? That's Isabella's world. Her mother abandoned her when she was 7. Just left. No explanation. No goodbye. Isabella learned early. People disappear. Love isn't permanent. And the safest way to survive is to become so small, no one notices when you're gone. But here's the thing about Isabella. Beneath that quiet exterior lives a spirit that refuses to be crushed. She watches. She learns. She plans. Those maps she draws, they're not just artwork. They're escape route. Watch her at court functions. She glides through conversations, offers perfect curtsies, says exactly what's expected. But her eyes are always scanning for exits. She's learned to read people like books. The nervous laugh that means someone's lying. The tight smile that hides cruelty. The way powerful men look through servants, as if they're furniture. Isabella sees everything, remembers everything, and trusts almost nothing. Until one night, everything changes. Her father summons her to his study. The fire crackles. Heavy tapestries muffle sound, and he delivers news that stops her heart. You're to marry the king. Not a request. Not a discussion. A royal decree. The old king. The one everyone whispers about. 70 years old. 3 previous wives. All dead. They say he's cold, calculating, that he uses marriage like chess pieces. Isabella's carefully built world shattered. But father, I'm nobody. Why would he? Her father's eyes are hard, unforgiving. 'Cause somebody noticed you, and now you're valuable. Valuable. Not loved. Not chosen. Valuable. That night, Isabella burns more than her usual letter. She burns her childhood, her dreams, her belief that maybe, someday, someone would want her for herself. She stares into those flames and makes a choice. If she's going to disappear, if she's going to become just another royal wife who fades into history, she'll do it on her own terms. But what Isabella doesn't know, what she can't possibly imagine, is that across the kingdom, an old king sits in his chambers, and he's burning letters too. Letters about her. Someone has been watching Isabella for months. Someone knows about her secret identity, her real name, her true parentage, and that someone has been sending reports to the palace. The king didn't choose Isabella randomly. He chose her because of who she really is, because of the blood that runs in her veins, the blood she's been hiding, the blood that makes her more valuable than any dowry. But here's what's beautiful, what's absolutely heart-stopping about this moment. Neither of them knows they're about to meet their match. She thinks she's being sacrificed. He thinks he's fulfilling a duty. But the universe has other plans. Have you ever felt invisible in a crowd? Like you could disappear and no one would notice? Drop a heart in the comments if Isabella's pain resonates with you. Because what happens next will show you that sometimes being overlooked is just preparation for being treasured. That map she's been drawing, the one with all the escape routes, She's about to discover some prisons can only be unlocked from the inside, and some cages we build for ourselves. The letters she burns every night. It's not just about hiding her identity. It's about hiding from her destiny. But destiny has a way of finding us. Even when we run, even when we hide, even when we convince ourselves we're not worth finding. Isabella is about to learn that the most dangerous thing isn't being seen for who you really are. The most dangerous thing is believing you're not worth seeing. Tomorrow she meets the king. Tomorrow everything changes. Tomorrow, the woman who learned to disappear begins learning how to be found. But first, let me show you the man waiting for her. The king who's been just as lost, just as invisible, in his own golden cave. Now meet King Edmund, the most powerful man in the realm, and the loneliest soul you'll ever encounter. 70 years old. Silver hair. Eyes like winter storms. Everyone bows when he enters. Everyone fears his word, but in the quiet moments, when the crown comes off and the court disperses, Edmund feeds a stray cat at his windowsill every single night. Can you picture this? The man who commands armies, who decides fates with a gesture, gently placing scraps of food for a creature that nobody else notices. That cat, she's the only living thing that approaches him without wanting something. Here's what breaks my heart about Edmund. He rules a kingdom, but lives like a prisoner. Golden chains are still chains. Power without connection is just elaborate loneliness. Watch him in his private chambers. The fire burns low. Shadows dance on stone walls. And Edmund writes in a leather journal. The same ritual every midnight for 30 years. What does a king write about? His fears, his regrets, the promises that shaped him, the love he lost, and the vow that keeps him from loving again. You see, Edmund wasn't always alone. Once he loved someone so deeply, it nearly destroyed his kingdom. A young queen, beautiful, passionate, impossible. She died protecting their unborn child. Died because enemies used his love as a weapon against them both. In her final moments, she made him promise something. Something that's haunted him for 3 decades. Never love like this again. It makes you weak. It makes you dangerous. Rule with your mind, not your heart. And Edmund, broken, grieving, drowning in guilt, promised. He's kept that promise. 3 political marriages. 3 dutiful wives. 3 carefully orchestrated alliances. But never love. Never vulnerability. Never the soul-deep connection that once made him feel human. Until now, something's changed. The kingdom needs an heir. The council pressures him. But deeper than duty, something in Edmund whispers that maybe it's time to risk his heart again. That's why he's chosen Isabella. But here's what's beautiful. What makes this man more than just a crown and a title. Edmund sees people, really sees them. When Isabella's name was suggested, he didn't just review her family lineage. He watched her from the shadows, through reports, in stolen moments at court functions. He saw her kindness to servants, her intelligence during political discussions, the way she sketches maps as if planning escapes, the sadness she thinks she hides. Edmund recognizes that sadness. It mirrors his own. She's strong, he tells his advisor one night. Stronger than she knows. And she's hiding something, just like I am. What Edmund doesn't realize, what he can't possibly know, is that Isabella's secret connects to his own past. Her true identity, the one she burns evidence of every night. It's tied to promises made long before she was born. Watch this beautiful man prepare for their meeting. He dismisses servants. Practice conversations. Try to remember how to speak to someone as a man, not just as a king. His hands shake. Actually shake. When was the last time anything made the great King Edmund nervous? He looks in his mirror, sees lines carved by decades of careful control. Gray hair that speaks of wisdom, but also isolation. And for the first time in 30 years, he wonders if he's forgotten how to love. What if I've become incapable? He whispers to his reflection. What if the heart I locked away has forgotten how to open? But then, he thinks of Isabella's eyes, the intelligence there, the hidden fire, the way she carries herself, like someone who's learned to be strong, because the world gave her no other choice. Maybe 2 broken people can teach each other how to be whole again. The journal entry he wrote that night, it's different from all the others. For the first time in decades, it mentions hope. Tomorrow I will meet her properly. Tomorrow I discover if I'm still capable of being human. God help us both, if I've forgotten how. What drives a man to live without love? Comment your theory below. Because what you're about to witness is someone remembering that beneath every crown beats a heart that wants to be known. The stray cat at his window. She trusts him. Maybe Isabella will too. Maybe two souls who've learned to survive alone can learn to thrive together. Even in power, he was starved. But tomorrow, everything changes. The king who promised never to love again is about to meet the woman who makes him want to break every vow he's ever made. Are you ready to watch these two stop hiding from life? The throne room falls silent as Isabella enters. Every eye watches. Every breath holds. This is the moment when two carefully constructed worlds are about to collide. She walks toward the throne, each step echoing against stone. Her dress rustles. Her heart hammers. But her chin stays raised. Edmund watches from his throne. This woman, she's smaller than he expected. More delicate. But the way she moves, there's steel beneath that silk. The protocol demands she bow. Kneel before the king. Submit to royal authority. Isabella stops 3 feet from the throne, looks directly into Edmund's eyes, and stays standing. The court gasps. For 5 heartbeats, neither moves. The air crackles with tension, with possibility, with the electric moment when two souls recognize each other. Edmund sees it first. The trembling in her hands that she's trying to hide. The fear beneath her defiance. The way she's prepared to face consequences for refusing to disappear. Isabella sees it too. The loneliness in those winter storm eyes. The way he sits on his throne, like it's another prison. The careful mask that slips, just for a moment, showing her the man beneath the crown. Your Majesty, she says. Her voice is steady, clear. I am Isabella. Not Lady Isabella, not your humble servant, just Isabella. Edmund leans forward slightly. A smile tugs at his lips. When was the last time someone spoke to him? Like a person instead of a position. Isabella, he repeats, testing her name, liking the sound. Tell me, why don't you bow? The courtiers tense. This could be treason. This could end badly. But Isabella takes a breath, gathers courage. She didn't know she possessed, and speaks her truth. Because, Your Majesty, I thought you might prefer to meet the woman you're considering marrying, rather than just another subject. The silence stretches. Edmund studies her face, searches for calculation, for manipulation, for the games everyone else plays. He finds honesty, raw, terrifying honesty. And what, he asks quietly, makes you think I want to meet the woman? Isabella's mask slips then, just slightly, just enough to show him the girl who burns letters every night, the girl who dreams of escape routes, the girl who's terrified of being seen and found wanting, because, she whispers, you look tired of pretending, as I am. At this moment, their carefully built walls start cracking. Edmund rises from his throne, slowly, deliberately. The court watches, mesmerized. He descends the steps until he stands before her, eye to eye, person to person. What are you afraid of, Isabella? The question catches her off guard. Not what she expected. Not royal interrogation or political maneuvering. Just genuine curiosity about her heart. Disappearing. She answers before she can stop herself. I'm afraid of becoming invisible again. Edmund nods. Understanding floods his features. And I, he says softly, am afraid of the opposite. Of being seen and being found empty. Tell me, have you ever felt instant recognition? That moment when someone looks at you and sees the parts you try to hide. Drop your experience in the comments, because what's happening here will give you chills. Neither realize they just met their salvation and their destruction. Isabella stares at this king, this powerful man who just confessed vulnerability to a room full of nobles, who risked his reputation to speak the truth to her. Edmund stares at this woman, who refused to bow not from arrogance, but from a desperate need to be seen as herself, who answered his question with such honesty, it takes his breath away. Walk with me, he says suddenly. Not a command, an invitation. The court erupts in whispers as they leave together. This isn't protocol. This isn't how royal courtships work. But maybe that's exactly why it might work. In the garden corridor, away from watching eyes, Edmund stops beside a stone bench. The afternoon sun filters through stained glass windows, painting them both in color. That was either very brave, he says, or very foolish. Isabella looks up at him. This close, she can see the silver threading through his hair, the lines around his eyes that speak of laughter and sorrow, the way his hands, strong hands that sign death warrants and peace treaties, shakes slightly when he's nervous. Maybe both, she admits. Edmund laughs then. Actually, I laugh. The sound surprises them both. When was the last time someone was honest with me about being foolish? When was the last time someone asked what I was afraid of? They look at each other, really look, and both see the same thing. Loneliness. Carefully hidden, expertly managed, but bone-deep loneliness that recognizes itself. I don't want a political marriage, Edmund says suddenly. Isabella's heart stops. What do you want? I want, he struggles with words that haven't been spoken in decades. I want to remember what it feels like to be human again. Isabella steps closer, close enough to see the gold flecks in those storm-gray eyes. And I want to feel like I matter, like I'm not just convenient. You matter, he says. The words escape before he can stop them. You matter more than you know. Something passes between them. Something fragile and terrifying and beautiful. The beginning of recognition, of possibility, of two hearts, learning to hope again. But in the shadows of the corridor, someone watches. Someone who knows secrets about them both. Someone who's been waiting for exactly this moment to destroy everything they're building. The collision happened. The walls started cracking, but neither knows their greatest test is just beginning. Are you crying? Because I am. Hit that like button if watching two souls find each other gives you hope for your own heart. What happens next will test everything they just discovered about each other. 3 weeks into their courtship, and Isabella is learning something beautiful about courage. It starts small. Edmund invites her to council meetings. Not as decoration, but as a voice. The first time she speaks, suggesting a trade route adjustment that could benefit border villages. The room falls silent. A woman, offering policy advice. Unthinkable. But Edmund leans forward. Continue. And Isabella, the woman who spent years making herself invisible, finds her voice growing stronger, more confident, more powerful. You should see her transform, Edmund wrote in his journal that night. She's like watching the sunrise. Gradual, then suddenly, everything is illuminated. But here's where it gets complicated. Isabella overhears two ladies in waiting whispering near the chapel. Their words stop her cold. Poor thing doesn't know. He only chose her because of the bloodline. Once he confirms what he suspects about her parentage, he'll have what he needs. Then, they notice her listening. Smile sweetly. Scatter like guilty sparrow. Isabella's world tilts. Bloodline. Parentage. What do they know that she doesn't? That night, alone in her chambers, she stares at the letter she usually burns. Her real name, her true identity. The secret she's guarded for years. Suddenly, it feels less like protection and more like a weapon someone else is holding. Meanwhile, Edmund faces his own crisis. A messenger arrives from the northern border. Enemy forces gathering, threatening invasion. The council demands immediate response. Military action. Shows of strength. Your Majesty, his advisor says, this marriage, it's making you appear weak, distracted. Our enemies sense vulnerability. Edmund's jaw tightens. The old accusation. Love makes rulers weak. Love makes kingdoms fall. The promise to his dead queen echoes, rule with your mind, not your heart. But when he looks at Isabella during their evening walk, when he sees how she's blossoming into her own power, when she laughs at something he says, and the sound fills empty spaces in his chest he'd forgotten existed. How can strength feel like weakness? How can the best thing be the most dangerous thing? I won't hide her, he tells his council. I won't pretend she doesn't matter. Then you risk everything you've built. Edmund stares out his window. At the kingdom he's protected for decades. At the legacy he'll leave behind. At the stray cat, still coming to his windowsill. Still trusting him to provide. Trust. Such a fragile thing. So easy to break. Just when she thinks she can trust again, betrayal whispers near. Isabella decides to confront her fears. She finds Edmund in his study, firelight dancing across his features, as he reviews military reports. Is it true? She asks without preamble. He looks up, sees the pain in her eyes. His heart sinks. Is that true? That you chose me, because of my bloodline. That you know something about my parentage, that I don't. The silence stretches between them like a chasm. Edmund sets down his papers, rises slowly. The truth, the complicated, beautiful, terrible truth, sits heavy in the air. Yes, he says simply. Isabella staggers. Actually, I stagger. So I was right. I'm just convenient. A political necessity dressed up as... No. His voice cuts through her spiral. You don't understand. Then explain it to me. Edmund approaches carefully, like she's a wounded bird that might flee. Your mother, she wasn't just a noblewoman who abandoned you. She was my first queen's sister. The sister everyone thought died in childhood. Isabella's world tilts again, harder this time. She survived, fled, had you in secret. But Isabella, your bloodline doesn't make you convenient. It makes you legitimate. It makes you what? It makes you the rightful heir to everything she should have inherited, including the right to refuse this marriage if you choose. The revelation hits like lightning. Isabella isn't powerless, isn't trapped, isn't just a pawn in someone else's game. She has choices. Real choices. Why didn't you tell me? Edmund's shoulders sag. Because I wanted you to choose me for me, not because of duty or bloodline or political advantage. I wanted, his voice breaks slightly, I wanted someone to want me just as Edmund, not as the king. Everything you thought you knew was wrong. Isabella stares at this man, this powerful, lonely, achingly honest man who gave her choice, who could have used her bloodline as leverage, but instead used it to free her. You're an idiot, she whispers. Edmund blinks. And what? You're an idiot if you think I need royal blood to see you as worth choosing. The space between them crackles with possibility, with truth, with the terrifying, beautiful reality of two people seeing each other clearly and choosing each other anyway. But their moment shatters as Edmund's advisor bursts in. Your Majesty. The northern forces, they're not just gathering, they're moving. And they have inside information. Someone's been feeding them intelligence about the palace, about the lady's true identity. Ice floods Edmund's veins. What? They know who she is. They know what her claim could mean. They're coming to eliminate the threat. Isabella and Edmund lock eyes. The game just changed. Their love story just became a fight for survival. His worst fear, about to come true. Someone they trusted has betrayed them both. And now, everything they're building together, everything they've discovered about themselves and each other, hangs in the balance. What would you sacrifice for love? Comment below, because they're about to find out exactly what their connection is worth. The person she thought she knew might not exist. The safety he thought he could provide is crumbling. But sometimes crisis reveals who we really are underneath. And sometimes, when everything falls apart, that's when we discover what we're truly made of. Their greatest test is just beginning. But here's what I love about these two. They're not the same people who met 3 weeks ago. She's found her voice. He remembered his heart. And together, they're about to prove that love doesn't make you weak. Love makes you fierce. Are you ready to watch them fight for each other? Because what happens next will show you exactly why this story changes everything about how we see courage. Everything they've learned about themselves is about to be tested. Hold on tight, watch them become everything they're meant to be. The attack comes at dawn. Not with swords and siege engines, but with something far more devastating. Truth, twisted, weaponized truth, delivered by someone Isabella trusted. Her sister Margaret stands in the throne room. Beautiful, composed Margaret, with papers in her hand and poison in her smile. Dear sister, Margaret announces to the assembled court, let me tell you who you really are. Isabella's blood turns to ice. Edmund steps protectively closer, but it's too late. The trap is sprung. You think you know about her bloodline, Margaret continues, addressing the king directly. You think you've discovered her royal heritage. How delicious. Incomplete. The words that destroyed her were simple. Margaret unfolds a document. Read aloud. Isabella is indeed royal blood, but not legitimate. Not an heir. She's the bastard daughter of your first queen's sister and your first queen's husband. The silence after, worse than any scream. The mathematics of betrayal hit like physical blows. Edmund's first wife, the love that nearly destroyed him, had been betrayed by her own sister. Isabella's mother had seduced the queen's husband. Isabella isn't just illegitimate. She's the living reminder of the betrayal that killed Edmund's first love. The queen died in childbirth, Margaret continues mercilessly, trying to deliver a baby that wasn't even her husband's. She died because of the stress of discovering her husband's affair, and her sister's pregnancy broke her heart completely. Edmund staggers. The woman he loved died because of Isabella's parents. The promise he made, the vow to never love again, was born from the very bloodline now standing before him. Isabella can't breathe, can't think. The secret she's been hiding isn't just about her identity. It's about being the daughter of the two people who destroyed Edmund's capacity for love. You see, Margaret smiles. Our dear Isabella isn't just illegitimate. She's cursed. The daughter of betrayal, living proof that love destroys everything it touches. Everything you thought you knew was wrong. The courtiers whisper, stare, judge. Isabella feels herself shrinking, becoming invisible again. But this time, it's not protection. It's a shame so deep, it threatens to drown her. Edmund looks at her, really looks, and for one terrible moment, Isabella sees it. The connection is severed. The walls are rebuilding. The careful distance sliding back into place. You knew, she whispers. You've known all along exactly who I am. Isabella, no. You married me because I'm connected to her. Because I'm some kind of penance. Some way to... What? Fix what happened. Punish yourself. Make amends to her memory. Edmund's silence. His answer enough. The person she thought she knew never existed. Isabella turns to face the court. These nobles who've watched her transformation, who've seen her find her voice, her power, her worth, now they see only scandals. Only the bastard daughter of betrayers. You want the truth? Isabella's voice carries across the throne room. Strong, clear, unbroken. Here's the truth. She lifts her chin. The same gesture of defiance that first caught Edmund's attention. I am Isabella, daughter of betrayal, yes. Bastard, yes. But I am not my parents' sins. I am not their choices. I am not a curse or a penance or a political convenience. Her voice grows stronger with each word. I am a woman who learned to survive in a world that wanted me invisible. I am someone who found courage when everyone said I had none. Her voice cracks then, just slightly. I am someone who was foolish enough to believe she could be loved for herself. The throne room holds its breath. Edmund takes a step toward her, but Isabella raises her hand, stops him with a look. No, you made your choice. The moment you decided keeping secrets was more important than trusting me with truth. She turns, walk toward the great doors, each step echoing like a heartbeat. Isabella, wait. She stops. Doesn't turn around. I need you to know, Edmund's voice breaks, that what I feel for you, it has nothing to do with her. Nothing to do with the past. It's what? Isabella finally faces him, tears streaming, but her spine, steel straight. It's what, Edmund? Love? 'Cause if this is love, if love means hiding the truth, if it means making someone feel like they're only valued for bloodline or political advantage or guilt, she takes a shaky breath. Then maybe your first queen was right. Maybe love is too dangerous. Maybe it does destroy everything it touches. Has anyone ever shattered your world like this? Comment below, because what happens next will show you that sometimes devastation is preparation for transformation. Edmund watches her leave, feels 30 years of careful control crumbling. The promise he made to his dying queen, the vow to never risk his heart again, was supposed to protect him from exactly this moment. But here's what Edmund discovers. As Isabella disappears through those doors, some pain is worth the risk. Some connections are worth fighting for. Some love is worth breaking every vow you've ever made. That night, alone in his chambers, Edmund stares at his journal, at 30 years of entries about duty, control, careful distance, at the recent pages, filled with wonder at Isabella's transformation. On his own, he picks up his quill, writes 5 words that change everything. I choose love over fear. Meanwhile, Isabella sits in her chambers, staring at the letter she burns every night, her real name, her true identity, the secret that's no longer secret. But for the first time, she doesn't burn it. Instead, she looks in her mirror, at the woman who spoke truth to an entire court, who refused to apologize for existing, who found strength even in devastation. I am Isabella, she whispers to her reflection, and I am enough, with or without royal blood, with or without his love. I am enough. The sister who betrayed her thought she was destroying Isabella's chance at happiness. But sometimes, destruction clears ground for something stronger to grow. Sometimes, the worst thing that happens to you becomes the catalyst for becoming who you were always meant to be. I'm sobbing. Please tell me you feel this too. Because tomorrow, they both have to decide. Does love mean holding on or letting go? Does courage mean fighting or walking away? The devastation is complete. The secrets are exposed. The careful walls have crumbled completely. But here's what Margaret didn't count on. What the courtiers don't understand. What even Edmund and Isabella don't realize yet. Sometimes love isn't about being perfect people, finding perfect circumstances, at the perfect time. Sometimes love is about 2 broken people, choosing to be brave together, in an imperfect world. The question is, will they choose each other, or will fear win after all? 3 days of silence. 3 days of Ella locked in her chambers. 3 days of Edmund staring at that journal entry. I choose love over fear, and wondering if he's strong enough to mean it. Then, everything changes. The northern armies arrive, not to invade, but to offer alliance. Their leader requests an audience with the bastard princess who spoke truth to power. Word of Isabella's courage in the throne room has spread beyond the kingdom's borders. We've heard, the enemy commander says to Edmund, that you have a queen who refuses to bow, who speaks her own truth, who stands by her choices, even when they cost everything. Edmund's advisor shifts nervously. She's not queen. The marriage wasn't complete. The commander smiles. In our lands, courage makes queens, not bloodline. That night, Edmund finds Isabella in the garden. She's feeding the stray cat, the one that used to come only to his windowsill. She came to me, Isabella says softly, not looking up. I think she recognizes loneliness. Edmund sits on the stone bench. Careful distance between them. Isabella, you don't need to explain. I understand now. You loved her. You lost her. You lost her. You promised never again. And then I appeared, daughter of the people who destroyed your first chance at happiness. You're wrong. Isabella looks up, surprised. I did love her. I did lose her. I did promise never to risk that pain again. Edmund's voice grows stronger. But Isabella, you didn't remind me of the past. You showed me a different future. He turns to face her fully. When I watch you find your voice in council, when I see you refuse to apologize for existing, when you choose honesty over safety, you don't remind me of what I lost. You show me what's possible when someone chooses to be brave. Isabella's carefully maintained composure wavers. The bloodline. It was never about guilt or penance. It was about giving you a choice, power, the right to walk away if you decided I wasn't worth the risk. And now, Edmund takes a deep breath. 30 years of careful control, about to crumble completely. Now I'm asking you to help me break the promise that's been killing me slowly. Help me choose love over fear. Help me believe that some risks are worth taking. Finally, they're brave enough for the truth. Isabella stands, walks to where he sits, looked down into those storm-gray eyes that first saw her, really saw her. You want to know what I've learned in these 3 days of silence? Edmund nods. I learned that I don't need royal blood to be worthy of love. I don't need your kingdom to have value. I don't need anyone's permission to matter. She sits beside him, close enough to touch. But I also learned that choosing someone isn't about needing them. It's about wanting to build something beautiful together, even when it's scary, even when it might not work, even when the whole world says it's impossible. Isabella smiles then. The first real smile in days, especially then. Edmund reaches for her hand, slowly, giving her time to pull away. She doesn't. I'm terrified, he admits. Good. So am I. What if I disappoint you? What if I've forgotten how to be human? Isabella laughs. Edmund, you feed stray cats. You write in journals. You asked what I was afraid of, instead of just commanding my obedience. You're the most human, powerful person I've ever met. What if love makes me weak? What if... Isabella silences him with a kiss. Soft, brief, but devastating in its tenderness. Love doesn't make you weak, she whispers against his lips. Fear makes you weak. Isolation makes you weak. Love makes you brave enough to risk everything for something beautiful. If you believe people can change, hit like now. Edmund stands, pulls her to her feet. Then let's be brave together. He leads her back to the throne room, where courtiers still whisper, where Margaret still smirks, where the northern commander waits to see what kind of rulers they truly are. Edmund takes his place on the throne. Isabella stands beside it, not behind, not kneeling, but beside. Equal. Partner. Choice. I have an announcement, Edmund declares. His voice carries the authority of 3 decades, but also something new, something vulnerable, something hopeful. I have spent 30 years ruling with careful distance, protecting my heart, avoiding risk. It made me competent, but it also made me half alive. He looks at Isabella. She nods encouragement. This woman has reminded me that the greatest risk isn't loving someone. It's never allowing yourself to be fully alive. Never allowing yourself to be known. He stands, takes Isabella's hand. She doesn't need royal blood to be my queen. She doesn't need political advantage to be worthy. She needs only to choose this life, this kingdom, this imperfect man who's finally ready to be brave. The throne room holds its breath. Isabella of House, he pauses, smiles. Isabella of her own making, will you help me rule with love instead of fear? Will you help me build something beautiful instead of just managing something safe? Or are you crying happy tears? Because I am. Isabella looks out at the court. At Margaret's shocked face. At the northern commander's approving nod. At the nobles who whispered behind her back. Then she looks at Edmund. At the man who gave her a choice. Who saw her strength. Who's willing to risk everything for the chance to love and be loved. Yes, she says, simply. Clearly. But not because of bloodlines or politics or duty. She faces the court. I choose this because sometimes broken people can heal each other. Sometimes two people who learn to survive alone can learn to thrive together. Sometimes. She looks back at Edmund. Sometimes love doesn't just find us, it makes us into who we were always meant to be. This is why we fight for love. The stray cat appears at the window, watching, as if even she knows. Something beautiful is beginning. 6 months later, the same throne room, but everything has changed. Isabella sits beside Edmund during council sessions, not as decoration, but as partner. Her voice carries weight. Her ideas shape policy. Her courage has inspired a generation of young nobles to speak their truth. The northern territories have become allies, not enemies. Treaties built on respect, not fear. Margaret has learned that betrayal has consequences. Her own schemes unraveled when people realized that someone who destroys her own sister's happiness can't be trusted with anyone else's secrets. But here's what's beautiful. What gives me chills every single time. Edmund and Isabella transformed more than just themselves. They transformed an entire kingdom's understanding of what love can accomplish. Watch them in the evenings. Edmund still feeds the stray cat, but now Isabella joins him. Sometimes love multiplies the small kindnesses. He still writes in his journal, but now the entries are about hope instead of regret, about building instead of protecting, about two people who chose to risk everything and found everything they never knew they needed. Sometimes healing isn't quiet. It's thunder. Isabella still draws maps, but now they're not escape routes. They're expansion plans. Dreams made manifest, futures being drawn into existence. The letter she used to burn every night. She framed it. Her real name, finally something to be proud of instead of ashamed of. Sometimes love doesn't just find us, it makes us. They stand at their window now, looking out at a kingdom that's learned to value courage over convenience, truth over tradition, love over fear. Any regrets? Edmund asks. Isabella smiles. Only that we waited so long to be brave. Smash that like button if character growth gives you hope. Subscribe for love stories of transformation. Comment which moment hit you hardest. I need to know. What transformation surprised you most? The king learning to risk his heart? Isabella discovering her own power? Or maybe watching two broken people become whole together? Next week, another heart at war with itself. Another soul learning that the greatest victory isn't conquering others. It's conquering the fear that keeps us from becoming who we're meant to be. You beautiful souls understand that growth is messy and worth it. This community appreciates real character development, and you guys always see the beauty and transformation stories. Thank you for witnessing their journey home to themselves and to each other.